Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you to Noah's Ark for putting this together, and to the Everyman for arranging this screening in support. I was just thinking, actually, how rare it is, actually, on a stage, if you call it a stage, to have an Oscar winner, an Oscar-nominated writer, a lead actor of an international hit, and the winner of the BBC Two Asian Male Personality Year of the Year, 1998. And then I say, Richard, you were incredibly deserving of that award. I couldn't think of any one line to it you could have gone to. Just as a bit of background, Richard, can I start with you, because the idea came, the film originated with you. Can you just give us a little bit of background as to how it came your way?
Yeah, I will. So I should probably tell that story you told me the other day about the person asking you about your involvement in the film. Could you tell that now?
The story you told us at Abbey.
Which one was that?
It's about someone who's seen the film.
Oh, in fact, it was in here. It was okay.
No.
So when yesterday came out, and I brought my family along to see it here, in this very screen that we're sitting here now. And I ended up on the front row, roughly where you guys are now. And it was pretty packed, which was lovely, and the reaction was all great. And I thought, well, I'll let people go first before I start leaving with the family. And as I kind of went out, there were a few people that kind of turned around, and there was one lady in particular that looked at me, and then she looked at me again. And then she said something to her husband, and then she looked at me again. And as we got out to the foyer, she turned around to me and she said, "Excuse me." She said, "I'm sorry to bother you. Are you the guy from Unforgotten?" And that was after sitting here watching me on a bloody screen for 2 hours. So anyway, over to you, Richard.
Well, no, this is a kind of miraculous, in a way the movie's about, feeling you're a fraud, about imposter syndrome. And to some extent, I'm party in that, because I remember sitting in an office for Red Nose Day USA, getting a phone call from a guy called Nick Angel, who I've worked with for ages on music, and he said, "I've got this script with this amazing central idea of someone who wakes up and finds he's the only person to remember the Beatles. Would you like me to send it to you and read it with a view to possibly directing it?" And I said, "No, I only write movies for Danny Boyle these days, so we can't do that." But I said, "Don't send it to me, because it's such a great idea, and if you'd like me to be involved, what I'd like to do is just write it." So that's what I did. I wrote the whole film, sent it to a lawyer. The lawyer then, on a particular date, and then read the other film, which was the scary moment. And bizarrely, the two things that were in common between my very optimistic version and the version that this guy Jack Barth had written was that the final song, the first song was Yesterday, and the final joke was that Harry Potter joke, which really is quite spooky. And so then I wrote the film, I sent it to Danny as a joke. Danny said yes on some conditions. Just make it better, really, was the condition.
Well, over to you, Danny, for the conditions.
No, and thank you all for being here very much. Good people for being here on your Saturday afternoon. It's very rare to read something that has this harmony in it. And of course, their work is extraordinarily harmonious, and it transforms us in whatever circumstances we are. And it's rare to read something, because you read a lot of stuff, and it's rare to read something that has that beauty in it, inherent in it. And I wrote straight back to Richard, having read it, saying, I said that there's an amazing quote that Samuel Taylor Coleridge said about Wordsworth's work, which is that it was unborrowed genius. And I said that to Richard, and he said, "Oh, well, I have to admit, But apart from that, it was wonderful to be able to be involved in something where you are going to be celebrating this music, but also the kind of light touch the kind of that you know, directors like me tend to be a bit loud, and it's wonderful to do something where you are trying to conquer that actually, and but can you cast it is the big issue, which is the only issue I thought there was, because the script was wonderful. Richard was going to keep working on it, and does keep working on it, even when we're shooting. Richard doing little, but it's can you cast it really? Can you find someone to cast it? And we saw a lot of people for his part, and none of them were available, but and we ended up with Himesh. No, it was very, very difficult, because this is interesting. I think that it very, very quickly, and this was a danger I hadn't realised in reading the script, but in auditioning actors for it, it very quickly became karaoke, very quickly, and after the actor was partway through their second song, because they had to do 2 songs in the audition, you started thinking, oh God, the original's so much better, isn't it? Which is, you realise will be death to the film, really. And what was extraordinary about Himesh was his versions were probably not the best versions of the songs that we heard technically, but they were original. And I don't mean that they were avant-garde or particularly difficult or rethought the originals, but they were his versions of them. And I don't even know whether you're aware of that, Himesh, but they were. And that means that you can sit there and watch him for 2 hours sing songs of which there are much better versions somewhere else. Really. There's a compliment.
I'm not going to take that as offence when we're talking about the Beatles.
So, Himesh, your first audition then, you weren't in the country, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I was in New York, this was almost exactly 2 years ago now, doing a play, and as we do as actors who are lucky to have agents who send stuff through, it just came through, and it was it's an untitled project, musical elements, Danny Boyle directing, that was all I knew, and they wanted to, they'd chosen a monologue from a play, so I had to do that, and then sing a Coldplay song of my choice. It was the specific instructions, so I chose this Coldplay song called We Never Change, and I did that, and I taped it and sent it.
Were you just singing, or did you have
Singing
guitar?
and playing guitar. I borrowed my friend Steph, who was in the cast with me, she lives in New York. I borrowed her guitar and did it. And I thought, okay, well, I'm probably not going to hear back, because probably 5 million people auditioned for this thing. And then, yeah, I heard that they wanted Danny, and then I found out it was Richard who'd written the script, and they sent me the script, and they wanted to meet me, so I had to fly back a couple of days early from New York, and met them both almost 2 years ago now.
Richard, this is just a useful thing. People may know this, but why was it a Coldplay song at that particular point that was important?
No, I don't. I mean, I imagine that was sort of secrecy at that point, wasn't all that we hadn't got the rights yet.
I don't think we had the rights. It's also, you tend to, these days, you tend to not send out your script. You tend to send out other scripts by somebody else to put everybody off the scent, because there's such a rumour mill goes round, of course, about everything these days. And also, you become, one of the problems, I don't know whether you found this, is one of the problems you've got with auditioning is you get kind of over familiar with your script that you're going to film, because you're watching hundreds of versions of the same speech usually, because there's usually a great speech which is very good for auditions, and you get kind of like, it's not that you get tired of it, you just get over familiar with it. So we sent out requests to do a Coldplay song. We sent out, I think, Quentin Tarantino script.
Yeah, for me it was
He's nicked everything from me. I mean, that's very near. I do want to say that just the other side of the story, we had my little nieces who were twins, who were 10 over the other day, and they'd seen yesterday, and my brother told me that them having seen the movie, he played them the sort of red or blue Beatles compilation album in the car on the way back from the cinema, and the girl said they were all right but not as good as the original. So there's a whole generation that prefer Himesh's version, I just want to say.
Himesh, in terms of the being prepared for this, so you hadn't sung on film before, or
No.
played on film before. And a lot of what people saw was live.
Yeah, everything that you saw in the film was recorded live. Me playing, me singing. We didn't dub anything afterwards.
Which is extraordinary, actually. The bit on Galston Beach, by the way, where Himesh sings Help, apart from one of the most extraordinary days I've ever experienced on set. I mean, you must have done that 7, 8 times.
Yeah, we did it a few times, I think, didn't we?
And you gave it welly every single time. I'm not quite sure how you could.
Slightly concerning for the voice coach, who was sat behind in the building, kind of going, "Do you want to ease up a bit? Because you've got to do this 4 or 5 times. Stop screaming."
But just in terms of
the
how
adrenaline rush.
you just tell us a bit about your preparation for it, about for the songs and.
Yeah. So we had. I got the part. We had about 2.5, 3 months before we started shooting, so I had time to prepare. I needed the time, because I'm not the best, technically the best musician in the world. So we worked with Daniel Pemberton, the composer, and he brought on this guy, Ardem Ilhan, who he came and he spent time with me. We set up this room in the offices in London. We made it look like Jack's bedroom, so we put a bed in there, and a piano, and a keyboard, and guitars, obviously, and posters up on the wall. We kind of made it look like his room. And I spent 2.5 months in there just playing the guitar and playing the piano every day, learning these songs, kind of making them our own, which was the main challenge, really. Because, it could very quickly become jukebox karaoke kind of stuff. And what's interesting is, what do you do when you can't? And there's no reference point. What would these songs become if you was to take some sort of ownership over them? I had all that time really to try and get those songs under my fingers, as it were, and change the key of them if needed, and that sort of thing. And really get to know them and make friends with them, as it were.
Questions from the audience? Shall we get? We've got people down here at the front. Are you two together?
What?
Are you two together?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that both of you put your hands up. I mean,
It's a good tactic.
Wouldn't it have been cute if they hadn't been?
Yeah.
That's the way my movie starts. They sit down, they realise they both love the Beatles, they go out for a quick coffee.
And instead, it's just a couple of people who came to the cinema. So go ahead, Dave, your question.
First of all, thank you. Taking the time to this Q&A. I think the film was really incredible. My question is, what is some of your advice to actors from the actor's perspectives, or when you first get a script, what kind of things you do, and from both of your perspectives? It might be a quite broad question, but what kind of things sort of stand out, when you audition actors and when you see them on the screen? Quite a broad question.
Is it in terms of what is someone looking for in an actor in the audition?
Yeah, what's someone, looking for in an actor, what makes them kind of stand out, but also, you guys, when you approach characters, what kind of things do you first do, and what techniques can help you guys?
I mean, I've got one quick thing, which is listen to the note you're given after you've done your first go in the audition. Because one of the things happen is people get it so overlocked in their mind, and you never know what, the whole tone may be lower or higher than you thought it was. They may have a slightly different version. And where it goes wrong is where someone comes in, does something, it's not what you were looking for. You give a sort of gentle note saying, well, maybe she's more insecure, or maybe this is the most emotional moment, and then they do exactly the same thing as they did the first time, and then well, they're not. And it's only out of fear. Normally they would be flexible. So one of my things is that no matter what you've prepared, be prepared to then play around with it a little bit. That would be my one sort of practical note. It's not obviously from an actor's perspective.
I mean, I agree. It's just about listening, I think, really, for me, when you're in an audition. Because, you can just, if you're really nervous, which obviously you're going to be, I certainly was walking into a room with these two, having never met them, you just kind of, all I can talk about with this audition was that I kind of went into the room going, this is an amazing opportunity to just enjoy myself, spend time with two amazing filmmakers, and just just enjoy it, have fun, and that's kind of what I did, which is helpful when it's specifically these two because they're wonderful and fun to be with. Some people are really scary. Some casting directors can be quite stern, weirdly, which isn't the easiest thing, but just enjoy it, I think, is my thing. Just play, 'cause as an actor, really, all you're doing is playing. Every time you're on set, everything you're doing is just fun, kind of back and forth kind of stuff. So just just listening and having fun.
I have to say, I was kind of in quite an interesting position actually on this particular film because, you know, I'd been in one of Richard's films before, 20 years ago, 21 years ago, in fact, Notting Hill. And, you know, I've seen Richard many times since, and he'd never put me in anything else. So, you know, there's that bit, you carry that in. And then the last time I'd met Danny, I'd auditioned for him, and I didn't get the part. And frankly, my audition for that was better than the one I did for yesterday. But the one thing that you do, just echoing what Himesh was saying also, and this may sound a bit weird and counterintuitive, but I think you have to let the job go when you walk into the audition. You can't be thinking about the job because it takes you out of being in the moment. So all those things that Richard and Himesh were talking about, which is enjoying it and listening and being in the moment, disappear because that subconscious is going, God, I really want the job. Have I got the job? Did I get the job? So that's the one thing that I think, for me, from my side, it hasn't got me any more work. But it's made me less kind of stressed, which is no bad thing. Dan?
I was going to say, it's slightly counter to that, is do your research. Because if you know who you're seeing, make sure you've seen some of their work, because it works, flattery works. To tell you, not in all cases, but most of the time it helps. Because you think, oh, she saw blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, and don't be shy about saying it. If you've sat through 2 or 3 of their films, you know, make sure you mention it. I would, every time.
Should you not mention it if you haven't seen it? You go in there and go, hey, I've heard you're great.
You can usually spot the ones who come in who haven't really seen them.
I've got another practical piece of advice, which is know what part you're reading for. That's helpful. I remember in Notting Hill, a woman who'd just been in a BBC TV series coming in, and she sat down, and I started saying, well, you know, the part of Joanna is, and she went, I beg your pardon? And I said, what do you mean, I beg your pardon? She said, well, I thought I was reading for the part of Anna, which was in fact Julia Roberts' part. And I said, no, it's the other part. And she said, oh, well, in which case forget it. And I certainly have never seen her on TV again, so I don't know what, maybe that's what she always does, maybe that's her reaction. But certainly, yeah, I mean, make sure you've got the right name and the right lines. On the whole, you'll be asked to play the woman in the scene, you know, things like that are crucial.
Another question? Go on.
My question is, what are each of your different approaches to the writing, to the characters, to acting, and how do those approaches intertwine?
Well, I think for me, it's kind of what I see on the page is kind of the most important thing, because there's things that are baked into the idea, you know, and things that are up for discussion afterwards. But for me, it was, you know, what was been written was, here's a guy who just wants to belong somewhere. That was clear from the beginning for me. Maybe I could relate to it on some level, but that was, you know, that was the thing for me running through the whole thing, was he just wants to be seen, and at the same time, therefore he's ignoring the one person who does see him. Yeah, so for me it's kind of just unpicking it as soon as I've read it. Whereas what was lucky about this one was the second audition I actually got to read the whole thing, at the current draft that it was at. Whereas usually you don't get to do that. Sometimes until you've got the role, or sometimes, you know, until quite far down the line. So you do go off instinct. But for this, when I first had to audition for character, I actually had an idea of the journey that it was going to be. And so for anything that I do, it's kind of about that, like, best you can, what arc are we going in? What is the writer trying to explore, and how can I as an actor kind of facilitate that? That's kind of my instinct.
Sorry, I know you're next to understand. I was just going to give you another piece of advice, which is if the writers in the room do tend to say the words he's written, because a lot of young actors now have started sort of improvising around the general subject of the speech. You know, they kind of add a lot of extra stuff and things. I never like that much. I prefer it if they say what you wrote.
Only that, obviously, to begin with, the writer has all the secrets because he or she has written it. And then the director starts to hold the secrets because he or she is developing the way the story is going to be told. But actually, it's the actor who has the secrets of the character. And that spotlight that's shone on that character, it drives you mad as a director sometimes. That actors are so selfish, they don't see anything, they don't see your burden, they don't see all the kind of stuff you're having to deal with. All they see is the bloody character. But you never have that spotlight shone in a way. And if you think something, say it. Because I don't care who's written it or who's directing it, they won't have thought as deeply about it as you've done. They want that spotlight, the intensity, the glare of your attention and your devotion. No one else is going to bring that to that character. And you might find out something that, you might get your head bitten off for saying it, but actually you're better saying it, I think. Because it could well be unlock something.
Fabulous, thank you very much. There's questions which are perhaps not career advice, unless you both for it, though. Anything about the film? We'll take one at the back and then...
We've just got one upstairs.
Oh, we've got one upstairs. Oh, hello,
upstairs.
Hello. Thank you very much, and of course, thank you for being part of the Noah's Ark Children's Hospice charity event. I wanted to respond to something that a couple of you mentioned, especially Richard, which was about imposter syndrome. And what's so interesting about this film is thematic as well as professional, which is maybe the contrast between wanting to belong, wanting to be part of something, and yet knowing all along what's right. And what's right in this film is love, is a relationship, and is a connection to someone who has supported your character for that whole time. So can you talk about maybe your experiences thematically in terms of the actual story, where that came from, and perhaps how that may be informed by your professional lives? Going from, take Himesh for example, going from EastEnders, for example, moving into this massive role. I watched EastEnders when I was younger, when you were in it, and yet you're coming into this massive role, and that kind of upsizing of potentially different worlds is really interesting. But yeah, how that links back to story, how you're able to act it and also direct and write it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. For me personally, it was a step. If I'd gone, thankfully there was a couple of years between leaving EastEnders and then doing this, which kind of helped, because I got to explore other stuff. The other TV and theatre was really important for me, just to get where there was obviously a fear and a certainty that kind of set in after doing years of one thing, and I kind of had to kick that out of myself, so I managed to do some really interesting theatre, which was great. But it was a real step, and I guess I was lucky to work with people, including these two, who were not putting pressure on me in any way, patronising me in any way, so that I felt like I was maybe unable to take the step. I was surrounded, thankfully, by people who were just supportive, and that really helped. But I mean, imposter syndrome is still well and alive within me. I think it maybe always will be, but hopefully less and less in an unhealthy way, because it can be slightly torturous. But yeah, I could definitely relate to it. To bring it to life.
I've got my script editor is Emma Freud, who I've been living with for 30 years, and the reason she's so annoying is because in every film I've ever written, she said, "What does it mean?" Because it's easy to tell a story and not look out for what it actually might mean to people. So I think that's one of the important things about writing, and then of course that's one of the things that directors bring to it, because they don't have to take the trouble of rewriting and polishing the scenes in the same way during the period before they shoot it. And one of the things that occurred to me while making this film is that all my films, because I think these two can tell you, but love is a kind of permanent imposter syndrome, isn't it? I wake up every morning and think, oh God, she had to sleep with that last night. And I think that it is one of the things, and when you look at, I mean, in this case, he doesn't think he deserves her, and she doesn't think she's able to make a fuss because she doesn't deserve him, and why would she? And actually it turned out to be one of my big themes, and strangely in the rest of my life, all the stuff I do with comic relief and everything, we all feel we're imposters in the face of the seriousness and the sort of technical graft of what it takes to change people's lives, but we do have a crack with our own little bit of skills and everything. So I suppose that's what I would say, is that you make a whole film and it's all about the cut and the edit and the casting and everything, but in the bottom, in your heart, you've got to slightly know, what the theme is, and that did turn out to be quite meaningful. I mean, you did the Olympics, and you still think you're an imposter, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, I think it's a really crucial part of your makeup to think that you can't, running through your head is like, this is not very good, I'm not very good. And then a part of you saying, no, it's all right. And so that's really a crucial part of the process for me.
I think I'm still doing that, to be honest. Even sometimes when I watched the film obviously a few times on the press tour, and there are like moments where I just go, oh God, it was awful. But you've got to not, you can't listen to it. It's not, as I said, it's not healthy, but it's something that does follow you around.
Sanj, having won that
Prestigious.
C2 personality, well, presumably you don't have any of these feelings anymore. You're the one who's out of that.
Well, once again, they never gave me another one. I've done a lot of stuff since 1998.
I feel you have another story about someone who'd seen the film and questioned your role in it.
Was it the same person but afterwards?
Which one? The person?
I think they said to you, were you in the film and what part did you
Oh,
play?
that! Oh gosh, no! This was not that long ago. So I was doing an advert, and the makeup lady said to me, she said, "Have you seen Yesterday?" And I said, "Have I seen Yesterday?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Have I seen it?" She said, "Yes, it's a film." I said, "The film Yesterday?" She said, "Yes, it's got the Beatles music." And you like the Beatles, don't you? And I said, "Yeah." She said, "You should see it then." And I said, "Oh, I must preface this." She said, I worked with Mira years ago." And I said, "Oh, that's nice." And then she started this conversation, and she said, "Yes, you should watch it because it's got Beatles music in it." I said, "I'm in it." And she said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "The one who sounded and looks quite a lot like me." And she said, "Who was that?" And I said, "Have a guess." And she said, "Was it the dad?" And I said, "Yes, it was the dad." And she went, "Oh my gosh, that's really embarrassing, isn't it? I'm so sorry." Yeah. She said, "Who played your wife?" About 3 weeks ago. Shall we take another question? Let's take another question. You had one down here, didn't you?
Oh, thank you. Hi, I actually work for Noah's Ark Hospice, so thank you so much for coming today. I'm also a huge Beatles fan. I've got a tattoo of the lyrics from In My Life on my arm.
Well, all of them?
Not all of them, just one line. My arm's not that
Massive
big.
arm, you can see. That's why she's got that rug. Her arm goes around 4 times and then comes back out again.
You should see side 2.
So seeing this film was just incredible. I've seen it a few times now, and Sarah Lancashire's line just gets me every time, so I've composed myself now. But I want to ask, were you fans of the Beatles before you filmed it? And for you specifically, Himesh, what was your favourite song to sing in the film?
In terms of being a fan, I was a fan, as we all are, should be, you know, but not a muso level of fan, you know, who could listen to all the albums and all the, you know, B-side. And now I am, because I kind of, in a way, I felt like I had to. If I was going to take on the gift of their songs and put them in a movie, I had to be, I had to know the journey of their music, because there is a journey to it. There's a growth. There's a you know. But yeah, so I am now bowled over by their musicality. Every time I listen to it, you hear something different. You know? Favorite song to sing? I think I keep coming back to this. I chose a different one every day, but Long and Winding Road. I really love doing that one. There was something about the way it sits in the movie. I thought was so beautiful. The way that it's cut together with Justin, who plays the Russian man, and his, you know, searching. There's something about it, the way it sat in the movie as well, which kind of endeared me to it even more.
Yeah, no, I'm the sad act here. Well, actually, I've never seen Sanj not wearing a Beatles t-shirt. That's not just for today. He always wears it. But no, I go from 7 years old in Sweden, standing for 3 nights in a row in the snow outside the Foresta Hotel, hoping the Beatles would come out on the balcony. So I was obsessive then. And then on my 60th birthday, I celebrated by inviting 6 friends round. We pre-picked our top 30 songs by the Beatles. We gave 1 point to number 30, 30 points to number 1, put them through a computer, and during the course of a 5-hour evening, played from number 30 up to number 1, while each person who'd given the most number of points to that particular song had to make a speech before it explaining why they thought it was so great. So, you know, it was really unexpected. Number 1 was Here, There, Everywhere. And yeah, Hey Jude wasn't in the top 30. So it's that's of course one of the great things about them, because they're so kaleidoscopic that everybody sees a different version of the band. But Danny, you'd heard their music before you wrote the script, didn't you?
Yeah, it's hard for me. I'm from Manchester. And Manchester and Liverpool, traditionally, very hostile relationships between the two cities.
Except they both vote Tory now.
And in fact, my memory was as a kid, because I have a twin sister, and we have a younger sister as well. And when we were like same age, I think 7 years old, I remember playing in our bedroom. We all shared a bedroom, and my sister loved Paul McCartney, and she was Paul McCartney, and therefore I was John Lennon. And our younger sister was whoever we wanted her to be, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, anybody really, it didn't really matter. And but my memory was of hearing my parents playing the music downstairs, the original 7-inch singles, which I've still got, which they bought. And you always think of your parents as old, don't you? Because you can't help but do that. But obviously now I think that they were young, and they were downstairs listening to the latest thing from that terrible city 20 miles away. And dancing in the front room, you know, so it's funny really. Anyway, yeah, that's my first memory of it.
Yes, I'm always wearing a Beatles t-shirt. Huge Beatles fan from when I was a kid. And they are and remain extraordinary. Himesh, Richard and I, Danny couldn't make it, we heard Abbey Road, the album, at Abbey Road, in Dolby Atmos, which is kind of 64 channels or something. So the music is split into 64 channels as opposed to a stereo, which is 2. If you've got 5.1 at home, then that suggests that number. And it was extraordinary because you could absolutely hear each person playing the instrument. You could hear the harmonies. And Golden Slumbers, which was a medley which closes side 2 of Abbey Road, I thought it was on. I've heard it 1,000 times, but hearing it in Dolby Atmos, it just made me kind of go, actually, this is one of the most extraordinary things I've ever heard. And also, I've met 3 of the Beatles. John Lennon was the only Beatle I never met. But that's another story for another time.
If you have a Noah's Ark magazine, I think the headline should be "Interview with 4 Sad Acts."
I think that can be be arranged, can't it? That'll be arranged. Okay, I'm going to ask one final question because I'm sorry we've run out of time. I'm really sorry. We will be upstairs for a bit, so if you've got short questions that require short answers, then I'm sure we can do that.
No, there's someone very quick.
Oh, yes, go on.
I was brought up in Suffolk. I'm here with my mum, who recognised lots of places because she still lives in Suffolk. What made you set it in Suffolk?
That's where Emma, who you get the feeling now is quite a strong character. She said if you're going to shoot it in the summer, we're not going to come and visit you. So can it please be done there? So Danny came up, spent time there, spent a long time driving around and find all the places, and it was fundamentally the sort of right area for someone who felt like he wasn't going to get far in the music business, but we only live a mile from Latitude.
Okay, thank you very much. So the final question I was going to ask, which somebody may have been in your head, which was, why does Coke disappear?
Absolutely random. I'm sure one afternoon I sat down, said something's got to disappear, thought of the cocaine Coke joke, and never thought again. But there's no logic between it. I mean, with time, I'll make up a reason. Because Coke is bad for sugar, isn't it? Cigarettes are bad for cancer. It could have been, it's like a socially progressive
Harry Potter.
film. Harry Potter.
Bad for...
Harry Potter's bad for people called Harry Potter. That's just about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again to Noah's Ark. Thank you, every man. And thank you to Richard Curtis, Himesh Patel, Danny Boyle. And thank you all for coming. Thank you for your support.